Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And we have got ourselves what should be a fun one here today, as it's gonna be WickedBot taking on MuleBot. A TVT between two very entertaining to watch bots. I've seen a few of their games, and I think these two should be in good match against each other here on Thunderbird, the AI edition. For those of you that are just clicking on a Starcraft bot video for the first time, you may be wondering what the heck's going on, and the long and short of it is that anyone can program a bot using the StarCraft 2 API in many different languages to play StarCraft 2. And then you can make them play against each other bots on AIarena.net. It really is a cool setup, so I'll just shout out and say check out AIarena.net if you want more info on that. But yes, WickedBot and MuleBot are two rather distinct bots. WickedBot likes to play bio, from what I recall, whereas MuleBot is notorious, as it says in its description, that it has over 70 openings. And so yes, there is a lot of potential plays you could make a bot do. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if we could get a like for every opening that MuleBot supposedly has, that would be amazing. Leave a comment down below saying more bots, more mules perhaps, more scans, whatever it may be. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll read the descriptions of these bots. MuleBot, programmed by Merkmore in Python. MuleBot plays Terran and certainly is fond of mules. That means no scans, although I do imagine it will scan if there's a cloaked unit, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just die on a point of pride. That means no scans. It has 70 openings, contains timings and eco. It will repeat effective openings per opponent, and thus is a good bot killer or bot trainer. Built by Merkmore on basic Python Bernie SC2 by hand. So Python SC2 is obviously a framework for, well, yeah, something you can build your bot off of. And that's actually what I use for my very basic bot. And yes, just pulling up, yeah, so MuleBot, a very cool Terran bot. WickedBot, also Terran, obviously, if you can't figure that out by now. Just saying, WickedBot is trying to play SC2 fair and square, having good macro. You could see him as the Tasia of bots. Shout out to Tasia, by the way. And it's built from Bernie's Python SC2. So, yes. Let's see where this one's going to go between these two. We've already got a Planetary Fortress opening from MuleBot. And then we have got a third command center on the way as well. So a Planetary Fortress is interesting. It does go against MuleBot's name because it does not provide mules. But then it already has a very quick third command center behind this, so just going to be playing it greedy. Whereas WickedBot is playing that bio-heavy style it is known for. WickedBot, by the way, was created on November 25th, 2024, so a relatively new bot, all things considered. And then we have got, MuleBot, also relatively new, created the 31st of May, 2024. And yes, both these bots have been updated within the last month. Okay, so lots of Marines are building for WickedBot, potentially gearing up for an attack, maybe a drop. If it does go for some medivacs, we have a third command center on the way, but MuleBot is effectively getting away with its bit of a greedy opening here on Thunderbird. Scouting going down for MuleBot, SCVs, Marines running all over the place, so that's one of the things you have to decide if you're going to program a bot is, do I want to program a bot that tries to react to things or program a bot that just does things blindly? Regardless of what sort of decisions you make there, getting information like this I think is a good choice because you can always add sort of checks or responses to things later on. This is some very, very in-depth scouting by MuleBot, just really wanting vision on everything. I do kind of wonder how the bot author goes about deciding where to send these units. Got a random marine hanging out here, random marine running over here. And then we do have a scouting marine running in. However, he shall lose this gunfight against the one marine of WickedBot because it has a medivac to support it. All of WickedBot's marine stems. So that's definitely WickedBot saying there is a threat. And running out after that. I do kind of wonder whether WickedBot just stims towards anything or if it's got to be in attack mode or something like that. For now, though, the red Terran bot is just running across the map with all of these marines. MuleBot is currently just running out like one marine at a time. Now, this may actually work in its favor if WickedBot is just going to constantly stim these marines. We'll see if it does do another stim on its units. These marines are going to need a lot of healing up by this one medivac. There fortunately is a couple more medivacs out. And once all these marines group up, things should be fine. It really is interesting how MuleBot is just sending random marines all over the map. This SCV is still driving around. And then we do have a 4th command center on the way for MuleBot. But it may have a bit of a tough time staying alive here. As WickedBot comes on in, a grenade does bounce a ton of those marines. As that Reaper tosses down a grenade, we do have a tank and a Liberator on the way for MuleBot, but its third base does seem like it's going to be gutted. Now, the blue Terran bot can afford to take a bit of damage, particularly since it's got this 4th base on the way, but it really is not pooling up its units at all. This is a very, very bizarre bot game. It's just kind of rallying out one unit at a time. That one marine is trying to fall back. A tank comes forward. If this gets off some siege tank shots, that could be very good against all these injured marines. And we do have WickedBot. Walks a few of those marines forward, walks some more. It does lift some of those marines up and decides to get on out of there. So that tank really is the MVP. That thing killed 12 marines in like 3 shots. Very, very well done by that siege tank. Saving the day for MuleBot. I do kind of hope in this game that MuleBot actually does sort of pool up its units a little bit more. Although some bots are just built on chaos of just sending out everything all the time. And that may just be what MuleBot is doing here today. There was some Liberator harassment in the upper right that is messing with WickedBot quite a bit. It is trying to just stim its marines at that Liberator, but the Liberator is in a safe spot. That's another one of those considerations you've got to take into account as a bot author, but it's probably not a priority when you first program your bot. So hopefully for WickedBot, it's got some weight as far as how it decides when it's going to send out its units, and that these marines will move and find a new target at some point in the future. For now, one tank is coming forward. WickedBot runs its marines forward. However, it then stops running them forward on top of the tank. SCVs are actually going to transfer right past this Liberator, right past this tank. That is not very good for those boys. The rest of these marines are coming on out of there. I guess the Liberator did move out at some point, so that's actually very lucky for WickedBot that it does get that. All this bio is now free. SCVs are trying to get established at that 4th base. Liberator getting shots off. Another tank sieged up, but that one is going to go down. So what a wacky, goofy bot game we've got going on so far between these two competitors. MuleBot is on a 4-base economy, so able to produce lots of stuff, which it seems to just want to throw out on the map. WickedBot's own economy is taking a minute to sort of repower upon getting that 4th base landed, but there's some mules dropping. It's also got two upgrades on the way, whereas there's no such upgrades for MuleBot. MuleBot just having Stim Pack on the way, just getting Combat Shield and Cloak. Now, Cloak could be very big if there's a Banshee down the line. However, WickedBot is just steamrolling in right now with these Marines and a single Marauder. And now that 4th base is being worked on, unless WickedBot does a gross over stim and runs into a siege tank again. MuleBot could just be in some big trouble. Now, there is that planetary fortress, though, which will complicate things. There's a tank on the high ground as well, so while MuleBot loses its 3rd base, or actually just floats it off into the... over towards this location here, that's interesting. It's got a rock-solid defensive position with this planetary, with the tank on the high ground, just absolutely cutting up the bio of WickedBot. The problem is WickedBot does have good macro behind this. It's producing lots and lots of units, and it's also producing lots and lots of medivacs, with 13 medivacs out. That does skew the supply a little bit. MuleBot also, I'll say, very cool, does float this base over to the new location. It's just like, yep, just float that base over. So not only does it have behavior to lift off a base when it's in danger, but it will also try and find a new place to put it. A Banshee does come in for MuleBot. It can start shooting at these Marines. There's also no scan from WickedBot just yet. So we'll see whether it saves up enough energy to do that, or whether this Banshee will be the MVP. Bio is stimming on in once again, targeting down the SCVs that it does see. Is really nice from MuleBot, but the PF holds firm. This one tank also really helping with the defense. The Banshee in the sky doing work. Very slow at killing the Bio. The tank has to siege up again, and oh, it's actually going to go down. So now the planetary is by itself. That's going to allow this Bio a bit more free reign, as MuleBot's economy really has fallen here. WickedBot is doing quite well for itself. The cloak runs out on the Banshee as well, so now it's just got to try and retreat. We've got quad Liberators being produced by the Blue Terran bot. Liberators in the right position can gobble up an unlimited amount of units, but we'll just have to see where those end up getting placed or not, or where they end up getting placed. More and more Bio is crossing the map for WickedBot. It's just a Bio-building machine. That is WickedBot. It loves to spam out units, apparently spam out command centers too, as it has 4 getting established at that location. Liberators are getting set up. There is still just 13 medivacs out for WickedBot, so the bot does seem to have a hard cap on how many medivacs it is willing to build, which I'll say is quite important. Liberators trying to get set up on the front lines, but WickedBot is stepping on the gas, not using any brakes, and just charging right through those. Liberators are a unit that they need to be sieged up ahead of time, and even if they were, they are not the best against Marines. So now the planetary is going to have to fight for its life once again. WickedBot stims in. It's killed off all the SCVs. Very good targeting logic, because if you just attack the planetary, well, it'll just be repaired forever. And now WickedBot is breaking the main of MuleBot here. And yeah, it does seem that MuleBot may be in a bit of trouble in this match, as the wave of Bio just keeps on coming forward for WickedBot. It's maxed out, so it's just building extra command centers. It wants to macro, funnily enough, dropping mules on the mineral fields in the wall, but that actually kind of helps out. I doubt that's intentional, but who knows? Anyway, MuleBot now down to 17 SCVs, got barely any production out. It would take a miracle or a crash for it to win this game, which is something that does happen in these bot games sometimes. I don't tend to click on replays that end in a crash, though, for those of you wondering. So the AI Arena client actually lets you know if a game ends in a crash, and that is something that you have to solve as a bot author, because there is things that can crash your bot if you have flaws in your programming. Like, for example, I don't know, it could be something like trying to drop a mule on a mineral patch, but there's no mineral patches, depending how your code's written, that kind of thing. Yes, let's see here. Banshee gonna try and do some work. Unfortunately, it will run out of energy, so tough luck for that Banshee. WickedBot, notably, I don't think didn't scan, but apparently it doesn't need to if it can just build enough Bio and charge forward. I'm gonna load into a macro game after this battle, so ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. A micro game. I mean, I might have said macro there. But yes, so that's gonna be some good fun, as we'll just wait for WickedBot to clean everything up. One Marine finds this base here. Bio will clean everything out. GG. Alright, so here we are with our micro battle for the end of the match. It's a Quarkling saying, time to see if my APM is as rusty as I think it is. Meanwhile, Memshark saying, opponent, I hope you're prepared for some stellar strategy. Although it's all about micro, not so much strategy for this one. The Marines are kiting back for Memshark against the Lings. Seem to be doing quite well for themselves. As it's 2 against 2, we've got ourselves a classic Terran versus Zerg with 3 bots, Quarkling, Memshark, and the cleaning bot here in the middle of the map. We've now got these bots switching sides from attacker to defender. Mass spam on the clicks by Quarkling as it does try and get on top of these Marines. Memshark is kiting back, but the Lings are getting some pretty good surface area for this one. These micro battles can really be a toss-up. There's like 5 Lings left. These Marines are running for their lives. However, now it's 1v4. I don't think you can slice that anyway and have the Marines win. This time it looks like it is Marines against Roaches. No upgrades for either of these bots, and let's see, the Marines are just going to want to kite back as well as they can. Target fire down these Roaches. One of them does go down. The second one is being worked on. Does go down, and yeah, the Roaches maybe need to be the units that are just getting off volleys then retreating. However, slow Roaches are not exactly the quickest unit in the game. Although, I didn't actually know that. Roach speed and Marine base speed are the exact same. So these Roaches are moving forward. They are picking off more Marines this time, it seems. It's now 2 Roaches against 5 Marines. This is quite close. As 1 Roach against 2 Marines. The Marines are trying to maximize their damage while minimizing the damage they take. It's so darn close. The Roach actually wins this one, and we are tied up 2-2 all of a sudden. We've now got Marauders on creep against Queens and Lings. It's kind of funny how the Queens have energy to transfuse, but they'll either just be transfusing Lings or each other. The Marauders do want to kite back. They've got concussive shell. Lings are getting on top of quite a few of them, though. And yeah, these Marauders are having a very, very difficult time just soaking so much damage. I think the Lings do need to be targeted, then maybe just run away from the Queens. But the Queens have so much HP. Even if it was just the Queens left, the Marauders would have a very difficult time here. And we may see that as how these Marauders will do against the Queens. 1 Ling left. But then, yeah, it's 2 Queens against 1 Marauder. Ain't no way this Marauder wins this fight. There is so much transfuse energy here on these Queens. So the Zerg will take the lead in this micro battle. There's the transfuse. All right, now on the other side here, the Marauders moving forward, then moving back as the Lings just fan out in as big of a line as possible. Marauders move forward. They do get some shots off on the Queens, which I think is absolutely not ideal. All shots should be on the Lings, as these Lings are going to be cornering the Marauders, it looks like, actually, as they're just trying to run by. But yeah, like, firing random shots off on the Queens is not ideal. The Lings are the big threat, as they're the ones really doing the damage and chasing down the Marauders. It's like the Marauders will dispatch the Lings once again, but then they... Oh, actually, 1 Ling will survive. But yeah, well done by Quarkling there. Now we've got Lings against Reapers, so a very, very close micro challenge. You can barely see the Lings from Quarkling in there, just from the spam clicking that's going down. And eventually one of these bots is going to have to engage the fight. Reapers going forward, Reapers going back. This is actually a little bit funny. And there's the fight starting. Grenades getting tossed on down as the Lings dive forward, trying to get us around. They do surround a fair few of the Reapers. KD8 charges going down all over the place. This is just happening so fast, but the Lings do actually take the engagement there. I think the Reapers all need to retreat as a unit, perhaps, not split up. That's where they get their strength. But let's see if it works out any better for Memshark with this one. They are going to throw down a grenade, just like a couple grenades getting used, not really all of them. And then, yeah, the Lings are getting way too much surface area on these Reapers. So well done by Quarkling. But yeah, Memshark probably needs to do what's almost counterintuitive there, which is group the Reapers up, which in micro for bots, usually it's the opposite. They try and split up and fan out to minimize damage taken. This time we have got Banelings and Lings against Marines and Marauders, so this is going to have to be some very quick kiting back by Memshark as the Zerg with its spam clicking. Oh my gosh, it's got 140,000 APM. That is ridiculous. But here we see the Marauders in the back while the Marines take the brunt of the damage. So some pretty selfish Marauders there. saying no way, but that does lead to them dying. So positioning of Memshark, maybe not the best in that particular engagement. And so yes, let's see if this one's going to be any different. It's yeah, it's splitting up, going to the back. Yeah, Marauders at the back though. Probably good in some cases, but not good against Lings and Banelings. Those Banelings actually do get some good connections, and then the Marauders are just toast. So yeah, Memshark not having the easiest time. And I mean, I'm not gonna be too critical, because it's like, people program micrologic, they put them on bots. Memshark says, I'm gonna quit. Quarkling says, hello, I'm gonna quit. That is some banter between those bot authors. That almost makes me wonder if they're like programmed by the same author or not. Anyway, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, consider becoming a YouTube member, join the Discord, and I'll see you guys next time.